Hello everyone and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Honestly, haven't been posting for a while, just got very caught up in my consulting job and doing some work, and I actually just got back from Chinese New Year dinner, and I don't think most people out there probably celebrate, but just, kind of just encouraging people to take some time to understand what you're grateful for and spend time with your family. Always a good thing to do. And so for today's video, we are going to be talking about how to network, especially in your early 20s. We had a lot of comments in the past video that kind of talked about the best way to do skill development and think about everything in your early 20s. And this is something that I'm learning as well. So kind of just want to impart some of the knowledge that I learned, especially in my consulting job, as we literally just had a 1 hour long discussion on effective networking and being able to reach out to people as well. So the one thing that I've learned a lot about networking over the years is it is not transactional in the slightest. So a lot of people, when they are starting the networking, it's very much so they're reaching out to professionals and they're getting an understanding and they're asking to pick their brain, either to get like a referral into their company or to like learn more about a specific role. Trust me, I've been there. When I was networking for my consulting internships and my full time, a lot of what I was doing was just the same conversations over and over again, where I would just be asking them like generic questions like, oh, what projects are you working on? What advice would you give to someone my age? And then at the very end, ask for a referral. A lot of people are doing this. And the best way to stand out is just to be genuine and understand that networking is for the long term. The relationships you build now are going to be able to develop into something a lot stronger later down the line. And one of the managing directors at my firm said it the best. She graduated top of her class a while back, and a lot of the people that she was talking to that she didn't necessarily think as like networking, but just like her friends in her classes are now like the CEOs and VPs and like executive level people, all these like Fortune 500 companies. And so because she has those relationships with people at her school and she kept fostering them and like kept in touch with them, she was able to like start asking them for assistance because they're now the top people in their industry, and she could potentially work with them in the future with something related to consulting. Consulting is all about sales. Like you're trying to sell different projects, you're trying to sell different work. If you guys want to learn more about that, I'd be happy to make another video, but she just had those relationships, and consulting is a relationship based game. So that's one of the things. Just keep in mind right now, what you're doing is going to lead to growth 10 years down the line. And it's very hard to visualize that now because you've only been alive for like 20 years, right? 10 years is literally half of your life. In the first half, you're like not conscious, or whatever the saying is. Like you weren't like thinking, right? And so just keep that in mind. Long-term networking games are going to beat any of the short-term version of networking that you could do where you're just reaching out for a transactional purpose, like trying to get a job or anything, which, totally fine. But the best relationships you're going to build are the ones that are very organic. The second thing that I want to mention about networking is just focus on providing value if you can. So when you're reaching out to a different person, it might be very hard to provide value from that standpoint because they might be more experienced than you. But the way that I see it is a lot of people, especially like they just like giving advice. They like helping other people. And the best way that you could help them is to let them know that you're actually taking what they said in their advice into action. So for example, when I'm talking to people in consulting and I ask them what's the best way to get onto a specific project or, develop a skill set in Excel or whatever, they will give me the advice. And the best way that I could repay them is by actually implementing the advice and showing them that I did what they just told me to do. So if they say like, oh, you should watch this YouTube video, I would come back to them a week later and be like, hey, I watched this video, just wanted to say it was absolutely amazing and I learned a lot, XYZ, and this is how I'm going to implement it into my next project. Very simple, right? They just want to see that the advice that they're giving is actually worth their time, right? Because some people are very busy and they get calls like this all the time from younger students or younger adults, and it seems like a waste of time because nothing comes to fruition. The other thing to think about is always try to give back, right? If you are in a situation where you can't provide value, just think about the fact that you could provide value to the people who maybe are 1 or 2 years less experienced than you. So continue to have a positive feedback loop of people who are continuously providing value. Next thing, a lot of people, when they're focused on networking, they want to kind of get to like the top honchos and reach out to like the most successful people that they know. And this strategy might be good because, you're reaching out to very high quality people, But at the same time, if you want genuine advice and you want actionable steps, you want to reach out to people who are actually only 1 or 2 years ahead of you in the specific position that they want to be. Whether it's physical fitness, whether it's your career, whether it's, you know, anything really. You just want to reach out to someone who's 1 to 2 years ahead, because the thing is they have the most recent experience and understanding of your specific position compared to someone who's, let's say, an industry expert in the last 40 years. And, the last time they went to college was literally like half a decade or half a millennial century ago. Sorry, what am I saying? But very simple. You just want to reach out to people 1 to 2 years ahead, preferably within your like alumni network or within like a mutual connection. LinkedIn is very good for this. So if you went to a university or you went to high school, reach out to people who went to those so you have kind of a common interest and it's not a complete cold outreach. You could say like, hey, I went to this university. I was actually in the same club as you when you were back in this university. That's the best way to kind of start the conversation. So keep that in mind. The next thing is to be very clear and intentional and come prepared with every single call. So typically with networking, you're going to reach out cold. You're going to ask to schedule some time on their calendar. You're going to, ask 30 minutes typically. And during that 30-minute call, you want to be very, very intentional with what you're going to do. So very high level setup is just going to be general introduction. So your elevator pitch and why it matters to them while you're having this conversation. And then on top of that, very structured and come with like questions prepared. So if it's a 30-minute call, I would say come with maybe 10 questions prepared and understand the follow-up and asking the relevant questions that are going to get you the most value out of that call specifically. So for example, I'm going to go back to consulting because most of my networking experience was there. A lot of times consultants would give very high level like overview of their job, which projects they've worked on, what experiences they had. And it's your job to kind of extrapolate and continue to get that information by asking follow-up questions. So if someone says like, hey, I worked on this one retail media client and we did this was our methodology and this is what we did for the client. Maybe one of my follow-up questions would be, oh, awesome, that's really exciting. Like, how did you go about solving this problem? And what happened during the second week when you guys ran into this issue? You want to keep asking follow-ups. And the thing is, you need to approach networking with childlike curiosity. What does that mean? That means you genuinely want to know. You want to understand their perspective. You want to get to know them better with no ulterior motives, right? Because nowadays, a lot of people, when they're hopping on networking calls, it's like, hey, can you connect me to this person? Or can you give me this referral? Or there's like some underlying intention that, they're not talking about. But if you approach it from the perspective that you're just genuinely trying to learn what they're doing, how, they found success and, what you can learn from them, it's going to show off. And you're going to be known as that one really genuine guy that this guy wants to talk with. And he or she is probably going to connect you with more people to talk to. So just remember to be extremely genuine and be intentional with your questions. You want to come very organized, prepared, research them ahead of time, right? So check their LinkedIn. If they have any content or anything that's pushed out, you want to get a good feel of, who they are. Don't approach the conversation blind. Do your research and do your due diligence ahead of time. The next thing is talking to people is also networking. It doesn't like networking doesn't have to be something super official or super professional that you only do with a suit and a tie, right? Any person that is within your social circle is going to be opportunities for networking. I play pickleball, I play badminton a lot. And the thing is, these people might not have anything to do with my consulting related careers or my professional goals or anything like that, but there's still people that I interact with day to day. And we talk about pickleball. Like I ask them about their work. I ask them about their kids because some of them are like 40, right? And these conversations, it might not seem like much, but later down the line, it might turn out to be something meaningful. Like one of the adults, he was asking me for help because his daughter was like applying for jobs and wanted like a resume review and see if my company could potentially provide her a job. Unfortunately, we didn't hire from her background, but I was able to give her resume advice. And see, that's like putting coins in the bank, right? Because you're helping other people, and generally speaking, goodwill compounds. And so that your help is going to come back to you tenfold, right? The other last thing that I want to mention is also just reach out to people when they cross your mind. If it's an acquaintance or someone that, you maybe haven't talked to since like middle school or high school, what's the harm in reaching back out and just asking how their day has been, right? The best connections you're going to have are based off of your existing network. And so you want to be able to continue to grow your network, yes, but you also want to be able to foster the current relationships that you have. And this doesn't mean you have to check in like every month, right? Maybe every 6 months or maybe once a year or something is completely fine, right? Everyone kind of has their different life paths. And I get people are busy, but it's very easy to just lose out on relationships because you're not reaching out to people as much as you should. So keep that in mind. And the other thing as well that it just kind of came to the top of my head is the idea of weak bonds and strong bonds. So if you don't know, weak bonds are basically people that you don't really talk to too often. They're not in your immediate social circle. More so maybe like acquaintances that you talk to maybe 3 or 4 times a year or something like that. The one girl that you see at the grocery store, the one guy you see at the gym, right? Those are weak bonds. Strong bonds are going to be people you talk to like every single week, right? So these are your co-workers, your immediate friend group, your boyfriend, girlfriend, your parents, siblings, anything like that. And the thing is, most opportunities in networking comes from your weak bonds, right? That one guy at the gym, he might be the next person who could refer you to a job. That one girl might be the person who like changes your life, or maybe you guys get married or something like that. What I'm saying is all the opportunities are within the weak ties or weak bonds. And so that's why it's so important to continue to follow up with people and reach out to people when they cross your mind. In fact, honestly, I might just reach out to some other people right after this recording because, that just crossed my mind of some people that I need to talk to. But overall, networking is a very long-term game. It's going to take a lot of time. It will take effort, right? Talking to people takes a lot of effort, especially if you want to keep them top of mind. Actually, one more thing as well. Keep notes of people as well. Like maybe that sounds a little creepy, but it shows that you're paying attention. And if you're writing down things like, hey, this person had a dog, or this person went to Taiwan last year or something like that, and then you bring it up in conversation again, they're going to feel like they're being heard, right? So that's another thing, kind of quick tip. But overall, networking is not a transactional game, no matter what a lot of people think of it. Think of it as you are just giving and providing, or sorry, you're not giving, you're providing as much value as possible. And then that value is going to potentially come to you in the future when you might need it, right? There's a lot of different components in networking. I hope this video was helpful from establishing a baseline. If you guys want like maybe scripts or templates of how to approach these like 30-minute networking conversations, or sending like a cold email, or even writing like an elevator pitch about yourself, happy to do that in the next video. But for now, hope this was helpful, and I will catch you guys next time.